So I'm going to start now, actually. So yeah, so just starting again. So the workshop is called Coping Through COVID. My name is Shamsa Chowdhury. I manage the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum. My colleagues here today supporting us are Amina. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Amina, and I'm actually now a clinical associate psychologist in training, and I'll be co-delivering today. And lovely to see all your faces, and happy to get started.
Angela?
Hello, everybody. My name's Angela Byrne. I'm a clinical psychologist working in East London NHS Trust, and I'm delighted to be here with you all today.
And we have another colleague as well, Rahana. Rahana, if you want to introduce yourself as well quickly.
Hi everyone, I'm Rahana. I work alongside Amina, so I'm a clinical associate in psychology and training, and looking forward to today's session.
So Amina, yeah, if you can just tell us about what the workshop's about today, please.
Yes, of course I can. So today we're hoping to talk a bit about COVID, the topic of the year, but more so about how it's impacted our mood, how we feel, and therefore our well-being, how it can make us feel low, but then what keeps that low mood going, and how we can work on improving our mood and overcoming this tricky time. So hopefully that's the purpose of the workshop today. That's what we intend to cover.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, just before we start, a few things obviously I need to just say. If we can all keep your microphones on mute. I mean, I can do that on my end, but just to stop noise and echo. If you want to contribute towards group discussions, please raise your hands or unmute yourself and just join and just say what you need to say. Yeah, we want it to be interactive, so yeah, we're happy for you to just get involved and say, hey, just say what you need to say, basically. But any questions, many specific questions, please keep at the end. If you experience any sound or video problems, try turning off your video, because that's usually what stops it, really, to be honest with you. The workshop today is going to be recorded. If you wish to remain anonymous, you can switch your video off. That's fine. We will upload the video on our YouTube page and share it to people attending today, and obviously to improve our workshops for the future. What I really need everybody's email address, because you haven't really registered with us, obviously the ones that haven't been here before. So if you can kindly direct message me, as Shamsa Chowdhury, your email address, please. And obviously, lastly, we're all here, if you can listen and respect and not challenge other people's views and opinions and not be judgmental, please. We're in a forum where we're sharing, and it's important that people feel comfortable. So that's the rules. And before we start, obviously, I'm going to just briefly talk about the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum. I'm sure people are probably fed up of hearing it every week, those who attend. So quickly, we're a local mental health charity based in Tower Hamlets. We're established in 1999. Our main aim is to raise an awareness of mental health, to get people talking about mental health, to increase access to services, and signpost people to local and national services. And we do this via various means like workshops, group activities, events, and media campaign. Our current activities include online workshops. We're basically next week setting up a one-to-one signposting and information service, which we'll talk about later on. We've got some wellbeing groups going on, which we'll talk about later on as well. And we have a community mental health champions project, which is about active volunteering. So we encourage residents to get involved with us and support our work in the community. So that's a bit about us. I mean, I've left my details here, which will be at the end. If you need to note it down, please do. There's my email address. We have a website where if you need more information about organization, we have a Facebook page. Please share, follow us. If you go to YouTube, you can see all of our videos in different languages in Bangladesh facility. We have on Instagram, which we set up recently, and a Twitter account. So yeah, we're trying to get very active, and obviously we'd like your support in promoting our work. So Angela, I think it's for you.
Okay, thank you, Shamsur. So, yeah, we just wanted to begin really by setting a bit of the context, which of course is sort of familiar to us all, really. So, as Amina said earlier, this COVID-19 pandemic has been the topic of the year. And of course, it's something that we're all going through, and we're all trying to cope with this. But it doesn't affect everybody equally. We know that it's a condition of social inequalities as well. And so we know that some communities and some people are more affected than others. So as we all know, I think people from Black, Asian and other minority ethnic communities have been more badly affected by COVID, as have older people and people with underlying health conditions. And, you know, our East London communities have been really quite affected. And so what this can do, as we know, is leave people feeling especially vulnerable and anxious and stressed, and that people have a lot of fears and worries at the moment. I'm sure you know people who've been bereaved, who've lost somebody through COVID. You may have lost somebody yourselves. And of course, people have got fears of becoming infected themselves, fears of losing loved ones. But there are also a lot of other fears around, which I'm sure you will have come across. So fears of the vaccine, should we take it, should we not? There's a lot of misinformation going around. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of confusing reports in the media, which, you know, I'm sure that you've seen yourselves. And that whenever we have conditions of uncertainty, this always breeds anxiety and fears and worries. So I suppose one of the things we want to say about this is that it's understandable. Yeah, so, you know, it's understandable that people feel anxious, feel stressed, feel confused. And, you know, we hope that we can talk about some of these things today. We're particularly going to be focusing on low mood. And I think, you know, it's been a long haul with this COVID pandemic. And, you know, many people have been talking to us about how it's affecting their mood and, you know, has left them feeling quite low, unmotivated, lacking in energy, etc. And so we really wanted to take the opportunity today to think a little bit about this, and both how we can help ourselves, but also what services might be available to help. So I will hand over now to Amina, I think, who's going to take us through the next part. Okay.
Thanks, Angela. Yeah, so we're going to be looking now at managing mood. Thanks, Shamsur. So why are we talking about this? Firstly, low mood is common. We know depression and anxiety are very common mental health difficulties people report having, but also experiencing just sadness and experiencing low mood is something that's even more common. It's reported everywhere, all around the world. And with the year that we've had, it's been hard for people not to feel low at times because it has been such a tricky year. Which is why it's so important to talk about low mood, because it's such a common thing and we're all kind of going through it together. Also COVID, it's really important that we have this discussion because COVID has changed things, and it's hard to deny that. And so new COVID restrictions, when the new lockdowns come in place, it's made it so that people are spending more time alone, and are not able to do the things that make them happy and the things that usually boost their mood and make them feel good. So when you're feeling low, you might go and do something that makes you feel happy. But COVID's made it harder, especially when it's like things in congregation, for example, meeting your friends or going to the mosque. It's made it very difficult. And as Angela said previously, you know, there's also that feeling of loss. And so that could be through bereavement. It could be through your own health, through others' health, through loss of hobbies, loss of jobs. So much is going on due to COVID. So many changes have happened that it's just really important that we have a platform to talk about it. And lastly, and I would say probably most importantly, there is hope. There's several things that we can do that can help us lift our mood. So it's good to have the platform to be able to share those ideas together. Next slide, please. So what keeps low mood going? So when it comes to low mood, it's one of those things that has happened to a lot of us this past year. And when you have those feelings of low moods, just considering the situation, you can fall into a bit of a trap, or we like to call it a cycle, but it's easy to fall into a bit of a trap. And so what happens is when you have this low mood, you experience negative thoughts. So that could be about yourself, that could be about others, that could be about the whole situation. You experience tiredness when you have low mood, and you also lose interest in the things that you enjoy. So maybe you're a nature person, you enjoy connecting with nature, and it's just not been something you've been able to do, and you lose interest in it. But that tiredness, those negative thoughts, that loss of interest then leads to decreased activity. So doing less of the things that you want to do, or less of the things that you need to do. It could mean avoiding doing things that are important, and also withdrawing from social situations. You know, I know for sure that when I feel tired, I'm not gonna do an activity, go out of my way to do something different. And when I feel bad and I have negative thoughts, I'm probably not going to be engaging in, you know, conversations with my friends, and you do find yourself withdrawing a bit. But unfortunately, that then leads to feelings of guilt, hopelessness, or worthlessness. An example that springs to mind is a friend of mine, and how at the start of COVID, when children were actually going into schools, not being able to drop her child off to school. So avoiding that task that needed to be done, you know, because when you feel down, you don't feel up to it. And she was unable to then go ahead and drop her child off to school. And because of that, she felt feelings like guilt, feeling like, oh, I'm a really terrible mum, like I'm not able to drop my child off to school. And it all kind of fed into each other. And then those sorts of feelings then cause the low mood again, and the cycle continues. So it's a really easy trap to fall into. Next slide, please. So we were wondering what people think about this. Do you relate to it in any way, that sort of cycle or trap? Definitely feel free to comment in the comment box, or you can unmute, raise your hand, whatever you'd like to do. But do people feel that they can relate to this sort of cycle?
Would anybody like to start us off?
Go for it.
Shall I jump in? Because
Yeah,
I was relating very strongly to that, Amina, especially the inactivity. I think, like in the first lockdown, I was going on big long walks every day, doing yoga, you know, feeling quite virtuous. But what I've noticed recently is that all of that has dropped off, and you know, sometimes days go past when I don't even move outside my flat. And what I really related to about what you were saying just then was about this feeling of judging yourself, feeling really, you know, guilty about that, and it kind of making things worse. So you can kind of lose sight of the things that were really helping before.
Absolutely. And, you know, I can also relate to it in the sense that I used to love going out and about for my walks, and not being able to do that kind of made me feel a bit rubbish, particularly because I, you know, used it for in terms of my health. That's something that I used to do, and I find myself quite relaxed and happy in nature. And so when, you know, feeling tired, not feeling able to do that, and then not being allowed to do that, you know, it made me feel awful. So yeah, in a way I can also relate to that sort of
And I also, oh, hello everyone, I'm Sharon. Sorry, I joined quite late, but I'm feeling like I used to love going for walks, and now suddenly I don't feel like going for walks. I don't feel like doing any cleaning. I feel quite low, feel like really quite, I don't know, I would say it's like a sad word. Like I feel so sad, and then I feel sometimes like I don't want to, what you were saying before about I don't want to join any groups. I don't want to talk to anybody, and I think it is quite worrying that, but I am noticing these kind of feelings that I'm feeling. Like when I'm doing something, I'm not in it. My mind's not in it 100%.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing firstly, and my goodness, I can relate. I think it's important. Sorry?
It's really hard time for all of us.
Yeah.
And if some organization involved with you and giving more mental pressure, it's really make, especially for me, it's really make me mental health problem nowadays. And my son have difficulty, but they knows, all organization knows. But now suddenly, just before one day, school now send me more trouble. And yesterday they call, they refer to police and social services again. Just in last year, social service just close the file. They know my son have a problem. What he's doing, what he's telling is wrong way. But school knows, and school organization said, doctor said, psychologist said, my son need a special needs, he need help. But school said he's listening to them, he's okay. And physiotherapist said a lot of children look like he's okay, actually they are not okay. And then my son, when he come from school, he said, everyone beating me, no one love me. When he go to school, he said, telling mommy beating me, no one love me. When it's so hard to take him to school, he doesn't like to go to school. When school finish, he doesn't like to come home. Same problem every day. And I took some recording also what he do before going to school. I do recording. He doesn't want to go. He cried a lot. Teacher beat me, a student beat me, they kick me, they lock me in a bathroom. Just I did recording, I show in a teacher, he's telling this thing. But after that, they know everything, but they refer to organization. Now, you know, big trouble again. It's really even 3-4 days, I am not able to sleep properly. And I don't know what should I do. I don't know what should I do because if my son is since he born to so many difficulty I'm facing, but I don't know school why send me another trouble now.
Thank you, Rani. I was also, one thing we probably didn't say at the beginning, but yeah, Shamsur, correct me if I'm wrong. We'll have a little bit of time at the end when we'll still be here after the session has finished in case people want to talk to us about their particular situation. But thank you for sharing that, and thank you, Sharon, as well. I think, you know, you've both given like really good accounts of some of the really difficult and frustrating things that are happening. So Rani, maybe if you want to speak to us afterwards about your particular situation.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be happy.
Okay, lovely. And I just wanted to highlight something that Sharon said that I think was really important, that about the feelings of sadness and noticing those. And I think that's the first step, is kind of noticing what we're feeling. And I was also thinking about the importance of self-compassion. I think we'll talk about this a bit later on, about some of the things that can help, and about, you know, noticing the feelings that we have, and also that it's okay not to be okay at the moment, you know, that, you know, for me, one of the really important things about the discussion that the cycle that Amina was leading us through was about, you know, knowing that our feelings are understandable, and to be sad at the moment is completely understandable because of all the losses and difficulties that we're going through. So thank you both very much for sharing those experiences. Yeah, Amina, shall I hand back to you now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to echo all of what Angela's just said, and thank you both for sharing. So now that we've spoken a bit about the cycle or trap that's easy to fall into, we want to talk about some of the ways that you can break out of that cycle, of that trap. So in essence, how do we then improve our mood when we have no mood? And so there's two ways that we're going to cover today. The first one is by increasing our activity. So doing more of the things that make you happy and doing more of the things that you need to do. And also the second way is looking at the way we think, which is great because, you know, Sharon brought up the idea of noticing our thoughts, and that's the sort of things we're going to be covering. So those are the two ways we're going to cover today. Next slide, please. Right, so doing more. So this is our first point on the list. So start by doing more of what you love and more of what you need. But why? So doing more activity can help us in several different ways. Some ways might be a little more obvious than others. Some might be a little more like, oh, I didn't know that. But firstly, activity can help us feel good. It can provide a sense of achievement. So for example, I like gardening, and actually doing a bit of gardening, and in the moment kind of the apples grow, so we have an apple tree, makes me feel really proud. And it's like you get this sense of achievement that you've been able to do something or improve a skill, and it's nice because the more you do, it's almost like the better you get, and that can give a really, really strong feeling of pride in what you've done, in achievement, in level of mastery, how good you are at something. So, you know, making a new hobby, rediscovering an old hobby, all of it can provide that really important sense of achievement, which kind of fights with those feelings of worthlessness that can happen. So, you know, recognizing that, oh, I can do this and I'm good at this. So that's one way activity can help us. So for instance, gardening would be a very good example activity for me. That's something I really enjoy doing. Activity, stumbling on my words there, but activity can also help us be less tired. So this is the sort of one that made me think a bit, because often we associate activity with being more tired. I always say that the more I do, it's like the more tired I get, or if I've done a lot of things in a day, I'll feel knackered by the end of the day. But interestingly, when it comes to low mood, the opposite is actually true. So the more you do, or if you start doing a bit more, it can help you feel more energized. Doing something that makes you happy can kind of give that extra spring in your step, that extra boost of energy, which is an interesting one, because normally we wouldn't associate more activity with feeling more energized, but it's true. And lastly, activity can help shift our focus. It can help us gain a new perspective, and that could be a new perspective on life, on others, on a particular situation. So I spoke about my friend earlier when I was covering that cycle, and one activity that she did was actually now the kids are at home, so looking after the children at home, but actually spending some time reading with them. So that's an activity she did, and I think it helped her gain a new perspective, in the sense that, you know, her children were very sweet, very well mannered, and very complimentary, saying how much they loved doing the reading together, and that kind of "I love you, mummies," and that feeling of happiness that came from that. And it did help her gain a new perspective, because her children were telling her how much they enjoyed it, and she thought, you know what, just because I wasn't feeling up to dropping them off to school doesn't mean that I'm not a good mum. Clearly my children love me and we're having a great time. And it makes you think that if you didn't do things like that, you might not have those little moments of happiness or little moments of joy, or the chance to see yourself the way others see you, and the chance to think about something else. If you're thinking about, you know, how difficult life is with COVID, and we're constantly surrounded by it on the news, when we talk in discussions right here, we're constantly talking about it. And sometimes it just feels nice not to do something different, and that can help improve our mood too. So that's the 3 ways kind of I've listed that activity can help us feel good, and I'm sure there's several more ways it can. But it's also important to recognize that because of COVID, it can be difficult to do things that you like doing. Like we were saying, going to the mosque, going out with friends, or going for a meal. It's so difficult to do those things because of the COVID restrictions, because of the fears that we may have. But we're finding that it's not impossible. We're finding kind of loopholes in the system. People have come up with ideas of doing things that they love doing, but in a way that's COVID friendly, so they can get away with doing them and not have to feel worried about their health or other people's health. But yeah, it's definitely important to recognize it has made it difficult, which is why we have this platform here today, so we can talk about ideas, things that we're all doing, little loopholes we've found in the system, things that we've been able to do at home, for example, that have, you know, made us feel good and are okay in terms of the COVID restrictions. My next point is probably my most important point from this slide, maybe even from today. And it's, don't wait for your mood to improve first. Instead, do an activity to help lift your mood. It's so easy to say, I'm not going to do this today because I'm not feeling up to it. And it's something that I know myself, that's a trap I've fallen into so many times, just kind of not feeling up to doing something and then not doing it, and thinking, oh, tomorrow when I feel better, or when I feel a bit happier, I might go ahead and start reading this book, or I might do XYZ thing that I want to do. But actually, instead, it can be more helpful to just do the activity, even if you're not feeling good at the beginning, and then count on that to lift your mood. So one example was, for me personally, was calling my friends. I just wasn't feeling too up to it, and at first I was like, you know what, maybe I should call tomorrow, or I'll do it tomorrow when I'm up to talking. I don't want her to hear me be moody, I don't want her to hear me be sad, I'll call her tomorrow. But actually then just mustering up the courage and thinking, you know what, I haven't heard her voice in so long, I'm going to give her a call anyway. And then giving her that call, and then realizing that that's my friend, or that's, you know, something that makes me happy. And by the end of the call, I was smiling and laughing and joking. And it's weird, really, because I could have prolonged that till tomorrow, but actually just doing that activity without thinking about anything else and just relying on that to make me feel good was really, really helpful. So yeah, not waiting for your mood to improve first, but doing an activity to help lift your mood. And lastly, to take it slow and steady. and this kind of ties in with self-compassion, like Angela was talking about before. It's really easy after today, maybe hearing some examples, sharing some stories, to really feel excited and motivated, and that's exactly what we want. But it's really easy to feel excited and then think, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to do that tomorrow, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this today, I'm going to do reading, I'm going to go out, I'm going to catch up on some work that I wanted to do, just loads and loads of things. But actually, in the long term, that's not as helpful. What is more helpful is taking your time with it. Because what then happens is, if you do too much, then you become tired, and then you risk falling back into that first cycle when you feel tired and then you don't feel up to doing anything, then you feel worthless and hopeless, and the cycle continues. So we've got to try our best to avoid that. So take your time with it and be patient with yourself. Give yourself a chance. You know, some days are difficult, some days are hard days, and you might try and it might not work out, but that's okay. Just not losing the motivation and maybe trying again and trying to take it small steps at a time. It's really not an overnight change. So I really do stress that it's important to be patient with yourself, because it's been such a hard year for everyone. So be patient, take your time, do little by little and build it up. So yeah, that's top tip. Take it slow and steady. Next slide, please.
Sorry, before we go, would Angie like to add anything? You did a great job there, Mina.
Yeah.
Just get in.
Yeah, of course.
No, I think Amina gave a great explanation there, and I would just like to echo what she said about the don't wait for your mood to improve first, but you know, just try to do something. So don't wait until you feel better to do it. Doing it will help you to feel better. I know it sounds a bit paradoxical, but it really is something that we know works.
Definitely. So do you want to do this, Amina? Or Angela, you want to do this?
Oh, sorry. I had just put myself on mute. I was just unmuting myself again. Okay, so I guess, yeah, continuing the theme, we wanted to think about, yeah, what makes us happy? So what are the small things that will make a difference? What are the things that we could start doing? And how could we make these possible during COVID? So when we've done these sessions before, people always have lots of great ideas and suggestions to share. So I wondered if there was anything that you've done, anybody here, that you would like to share. Something that lifts your mood, makes you happy, even if it's something very, very small. So, you know,
well,
yeah.
Well, on Tuesday, it was very like cold, and my daughter said, "Mum, let's go out," and I'm like, "No, it's cold. It's very slippery. I don't want to go out." She said, "No, Mum, let's go out," and I said, I wasn't in the mood to going out because it was really cold. And I'm like, okay, where should we go? She goes, let's go to Victoria Park. So I said, oh God. I said, all right then. So I said to myself, only for half an hour then, because I want to come back home, because I was really, I didn't really wanted to go out. So anyway, so I thought, okay, for her sake, because she's got mental health issues herself. So I thought, okay, you know, if she wants to go out, let's go out. So I got dressed. I wasn't happy getting dressed, and then, you know, went out. As I was walking into Victoria Park, my fingers were getting really cold. Although I was wearing gloves, I was still feeling the cold, and I wasn't really happy going. And I just thought, oh Lord, where am I going to this park? I just want to go home. But anyway, went to the park. It was really like icy, and it was cold. And as we walked the first bit of the park, we were just talking about other stuff, about things, and I don't know. And then we crossed the road and got onto the second bit, and then suddenly my mood changed for some reason. I felt so happy. I think the snow made me really happy. I was walking in the walking on the grass, because I like the grass bit because it wasn't very slippery. And then she was joking, she was taking pictures, and I don't know, for that minute, I felt so happy. I was lying on the snow, and she was making jokes about it. So yeah,
Wow.
so I felt so happy. It was just like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the snow, and then it began to snow, and I just felt like, oh my God, I'm so glad. And then that half an hour turned into whole morning. I mean, it was like half 12, you know, and she's like, oh, shall we get something to eat? She goes, oh, what we're going to eat at home? And then on the way we said, well, we can get some chips because it's really cold. But I'm telling you that I'm shortening the story, but it was just like a really lovely time. And then for that sense, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't want to really go, and it was like something not pushing me to thinking, all right, then it's for her mental health as well, for her to go out and to have a little bit of exercise. And you know, and how it changed to a really positive thing. I just thought that was really great. And then we came back, we got on the way, we got some chips, and we came home, we had the chips, and I thought that was just a lovely morning. And I felt, wow.
That's amazing.
I never imagined.
Sharon, that is such a beautiful example. Is it okay if I kind of make some points about your example? Because it's such a really good example of what we were talking about.
Yeah,
what a lovely story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah.
And what I really I was really struck by the way, you know, this is a perfect example of what Amina was talking about doing something even though you don't feel like doing it. And
Yeah,
you know, I was also really struck by the fact that, you know, it sounded like what made you do it was, you know, thinking about your daughter and, you know, wanting her to be happy. And then you describe beautifully, you know, the kind of journey and what was going on in your head, like thinking, oh, what am I doing? I don't really want to do this, and all the kind of, you know, negative talk that we were talking about. But it also sounds like what was happening was partly the distraction. You know, you started to focus on other things, and then your mood changed, and it sounds like you had such a lovely, happy day. And you know, it's literally a perfect example of what we were talking about. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I think there's some other examples I can see coming up here. Yasmin, bake a cake, play games together, or do a drawing activity together outside. You notice your mood changes. Go for a bike ride. Yeah, those are brilliant, brilliant examples, Yasmin.
That's something I did a lot. I just want to chip in there. There's so much conversation happening. It's something I did a lot. I remember right at the beginning, I was baking cinnamon rolls and banana bread, very much upped my skills throughout the process. But actually, I found that really helpful as well. It was really nice. It gave me something to do, like a nice activity to do at home, especially when the day felt a bit empty. So definitely relate to that one. Baking definitely works, for me at least. It was great. And can I just say, Sharon, you really made me want to go visit a park right now, and I'm craving some chips also. So thank you.
What I do, I play with children or read a book and hide and seek, doing this thing. And when I see, I speak with them, you know, tell them some story when I was, you know, teenager, or I'm going to school, what happened. Enjoy, you know, some moment with friends, and they enjoy it. What we do, you know, jumping, playing, because they're children, they love it. They want to hear these types of a story, what happened when I was with like them. And another thing is what I do, I feel really bad. I go to YouTube, and you know, news or any celebrity, and people write a lot of comments. sometimes I read the comments, it make me really laugh, because some people write a comment, you know, irrelevant.
Yeah.
And it's make you too much laugh. You can't believe it. Think you watching one video is a makeup video. Someone write there, oh, delicious curry. I love it. It's make me, you know, trust me. I forgot that time any stress, anything. Just I love myself. What they write.
Oh, lovely. That is beautiful. Thank you so much. And did I hear you say that you were playing hide and seek?
Yeah, and with children. And what I do, I tell them count and quickly I can wash something, I can tidy something. I'm cutting, children want to take knife from me. Then what I do, I put knife up, then I tell okay, hide and seek, count till 20, then I can find you. When they are counting, when they counting 1, 2, because they are children. When I go quickly, then I count this type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, these types. When I need to cut quickly vegetable, then I count this type 1 step, 2 step, tickle underarm, 3 step. That is taking time, and they hide. They hide. They are not coming.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Safia, for also mentioning in the chat about cooking and baking together with your daughters. And one of the things that really strikes me about a lot of the examples that people are sharing is about these are things that connect us to others who are important to us. So whether it's playing with children, sharing stories, cooking and baking, and you know, that really connects into our values, I think, you know, what really matters to us. And it's often about the relationships with others that we care about. And I think these are also lovely examples of what Amina was talking about earlier, about things that give us a sense of achievement. Definitely, I've been doing a lot more cooking since the lockdown, and absolutely, I think it gives you that little boost of, you know, when you do something new. And as Rani said there, you know, when people then comment on it or people appreciate it, and you can get into that kind of, you know, positive cycle.
Negative side, both sides. And you know, funny thing is when Trump lose the vote, then I used to read his, you know, comment. You know, some people right before used to write, oh, you are excellent president, this, that, this, that. That same people now writing opposite.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
different comments just, you know, make you laugh. Totally
Absolutely.
You will forget your, you know, stress. What people writing, and sometimes I see, you know, 1,000 comments, 2,000, 1 million comments. Sometimes why this video, this steps comment?
Yeah.
Inside,
yeah, I think
10,
you mentioned
15, you laugh. Trust me.
Yeah, no, thank you, Rani. I think you mentioned something that's very important there as well, which is just about laughter, you know, and I don't know if anybody else saw this, but I literally haven't stopped laughing this week about the poor man on the Zoom call who had a cat filter on his face. I don't know if you saw that, but it was something very silly, but it just really made me laugh because it looked like a cat was in the meeting talking. So I think I'm going to, just in the interests of time, oh wait, now I'm just going to come to Asma's example, and then I'll go on. I'll hand back to Amina. Asma's talking about the Bangladeshi Bristol Women's Group, cooking sessions with Bristol Meets the World, and group members made videos and posted on Facebook. Amazing. And I bet doing that kind of brought a new level of connection and appreciation to what they were doing. So that sounds absolutely amazing, and also a really good way of being able to connect with others even when we're sort of physically apart. So that sounds like a great project. Thank you for sharing that. Maybe we can see some of the videos one day. Okay, so well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling energized after that. But I think in the interests of time, we probably need to move to the next slide, and I'm going to hand back to Amina.
thank you, and thank you everyone. I'm gonna make sure I read all the ideas in the comments at the end so I can go ahead and try all of those things. But yeah, thank you. Feel like we could talk about that forever, but moving on, sadly but swiftly, to our next point, which is also a really important one. So we spoke a bit about how doing activities can make us feel good and help us break out of the cycle. And the second point, which might be a little bit more confusing, is looking at the way we think. So like Sharon mentioned, noticing the thoughts that we're having. And when we're feeling low, we are more likely to have negative thoughts about ourselves, about other people, about the situation, about the future. And COVID has made it easy for us to feel low. And then once, you know, when you feel low, you're going to think negative things. But those thoughts that we're having don't just stay as thoughts, right? They actually affect the way we feel. The thoughts that we're having, they affect the way we feel, and that affects what we do, how we behave. And to give an example to kind of explain that a bit more clearly is, say the situation was that my friend hadn't called me during lockdown. If that was the situation, I could have two different thoughts about that. The first thought, A, could be that, oh, my friend hasn't called me during lockdown. This means they mustn't care about me. They haven't called me. They're not caring for me. Or it could be B, you know, my friend hasn't called me during lockdown because, you know, they might be busy with their family. So that's two different thoughts that I've had as a reaction to the same situation. So when we think about the first thought, how would it make me feel? And this is quite personal. So for me, if I had the thought that my friend hasn't called me during lockdown, that means they mustn't care about me, that'd make me feel quite down. It'd make me feel a bit rubbish, really, maybe a bit unappreciated, or maybe a little bit worthless, that I don't hold, you know, I don't hold that much importance in my friend's life. And that would impact what I would do, because if I thought thoughts like that, then and felt feelings like of worthlessness, I'd probably pull back a little bit, maybe not call my friend, maybe withdraw from a very nice friendship, blossoming friendship, or a friendship of years, just because I've been made to feel a little bit bad about it, and it was my thoughts that caused that. But I wouldn't be able to help but not then call that friend. I would probably just leave it be and do something else. But if to the same situation I thought, my friend hasn't called me during lockdown, maybe they might be busy with their family, that would completely impact, like, that would be completely different response in terms of how I feel, because I would feel worried almost, actually, to be honest with you. I would feel worried about my friend. Oh, I hope they're doing okay. They might be busy with their family. I know they have a big family and it's a lot to manage, and lots of kids, and it's all at home, not at school. And I might feel a bit sorry for them. And that would impact what I do, because then I'll probably call my friend, check up on them, seeing how are you doing? Are you okay? And it sounds strange almost, but noticing our thoughts, you know, gives us power, because we can then figure out the sorts of thoughts we're having, how those thoughts then make us feel, and then what we do because of those thoughts. And I like to think of it as some thoughts that I have are really helpful thoughts, but then some thoughts I have are unhelpful thoughts. And it's important then to try and challenge the unhelpful thoughts. And that could be through just going through, you know, in your own mind. You could write down, for instance, your thoughts that you're having and say, actually, I can't say that my friend doesn't care about me because they, you know, wish me happy birthday on my birthday every year. The other, you know, before lockdown, when I was struggling, my friend was there for me throughout it all, and challenging that thought that you're having. And also, top tip, is there another way of looking at the situation that hasn't been thought about? Is there another possible explanation? So for this example, my friend hasn't called me during lockdown. Is her phone with her? Is her phone broken? Has she lost, you know, her phone? Is her battery charged? Has she decided to email me this year instead of messaging like we normally do for some reason? Maybe she just felt like she'd rather write something longer. Is she busy posting flowers through the door box? You know, there's so many different explanations for the same situation, but our thoughts can lead us down a rabbit hole almost. You think something and then believe it to be true when that might not be the case. So top tip, always trying to see, is there another way of looking at the situation that we haven't thought about, or I haven't thought about. Yeah, so looking at the way we think sounds strange, but in my experience is really, really helpful. I was wondering if Angela or Shamsa, Rehana, anybody had anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's a key example of the idea of being proactive and doing things even when you don't feel like doing it. So coming back to that point, because in this instance, we've not made the effort to contact the friend. So equally, there's a chance that they could be feeling the same way. And if we put it off because of our low mood, how is that going to impact us if we do start thinking along the lines of, you know, they must not care about me. What if they are also feeling down? And it just takes that one step of reaching out, and that could impact you both positively.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to share some words of wisdom from Yasmin in the chat. She says, a thought is just a thought. You can change it any time. And I think that's such a really beautiful way of putting it. And, you know, we know that it's not always easy to do that, but it's something that we can have some control over. So even when we're feeling, you know, like there's so many things we can't control, I think just that question that you put, Amina, is there another way of looking at the situation that I haven't thought about? So helpful just to always be asking that. Yeah, beautifully put, Yasmin. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that's a really profound thought. It's going to stick in my head, actually. Thank you. So it's really weird after having such open chats, then coming back to the presentation. But I mean, I'm thinking as I go along about all of these ideas, and I just really want to say thank you for all your contributions. But yeah, the improved mood cycle. So what we're saying now is that not only can those two things, so doing more activities, so that could be things that you love doing and also things that you think you need to do, and also looking at the way we think, and as Yasmin put it, a thought is a thought and it can be changed anytime, and changing those thoughts can help us break out of that sort of cycle, that trap of low mood. But more than that, we can also form a new positive cycle, which means we can keep the positivity going naturally. So this is just an example of that, is that when we then do more activities, do more of what we love, what we need, and we challenge any unhelpful thoughts, we change those thoughts, think about different ways of looking at certain situations, that will definitely impact our mood. It will help us feel better about ourselves. It could help us feel hopeful, more confident, especially if, you know, an activity that you do is something that raises your skill level. It can help you feel less guilty. Say for my friend who wasn't able to drop her children off to school, feeling less guilty when she was able to spend time with them at home. And feeling hopeful for me comes definitely from challenging those unhelpful thoughts about yourself, about the world, and actually feeling hopeful that there's people who care for me and care about me, and like there is some goodness in this last year. And those sorts of, you know, feeling hopeful, feeling more confident, less guilty, will then improve our mood naturally. You feel good, and that increases our energy and our want to do more, and it improves our motivation. So when we do something that we like say Sharon mentioned going to the park, and it was good and you had a good time, it kind of increases your motivation to maybe try that again, and it gives you that kind of little boost of energy. And that energy and motivation just means that you can spend more time doing things you love, doing things you need, and using that energy to challenge any unhelpful thoughts. So it's like another trap, but it's a positive one. So that can also happen. Yeah, so that's something that we wanted to kind of display for you. And I was wondering kind of if anyone could see themselves relating to this, or kind of, you know, had any questions about how this sort of cycle works. I've just seen a comment from Asma. I'm just having a quick read through. Oh, that's brilliant. So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to have a look at the comment, but using social media to connect people together, honestly, I mean, that sounds fantastic. It's a brilliant way of connecting. I've got to second that. Social media, WhatsApp video has been a lifesaver for me. I remember kind of last year when lockdown kind of was put into place, and it was near Eid, and I was feeling a bit down because normally I would go to visit my grandma on Eid. It was a family thing that we would do every year, and I was quite down about that, but luckily I had my WhatsApp video, so I could call her at least and see her and just show her my outfit and have the conversation, say Eid Mubarak over the phone. It was, you know, boy am I glad that I had that. So definitely don't doubt the power of social media. WhatsApp video, FaceTime, all of it has been really, really helpful. But yeah.
Oh, can I just point out the next bit of Asma's comment, because I just thought that is amazing. A generation game, teaching children and adults teaching each other. What a fantastic idea. I'm gonna definitely remember that one. And Yasmin has coffee mornings for people feeling lonely, especially parents of children with special educational needs. And actually that might be really relevant to some of the other parents who are here. Can anybody join that, Yasmin? Or how would people get in touch with that, with the coffee mornings?
Hello.
Hi, is that Yasmin?
Yeah, speaking. Yeah, there are some SEN groups. I know there was a mother who came on earlier, and we do have like once a month or twice a month. There's some groups I'm involved in. So if the lady who spoke before, if she wants that, then she can just leave her email and I can send her the details.
Lovely. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Yasmin. And, you know, it makes me think about the power of these sessions where people are able to come together and share such brilliant ideas and support. So, yeah, brilliant. We can put you in touch. Thank you.
Yasmin, I think it would be good if Yasmin can maybe email me the details.
Right, yes. Maybe go through
everybody if they're interested. Anybody else? Unless it's a closed group, it's obviously different. If it's open to one, I'm happy to share.
Sorry, yeah, I've been doing some. I have been doing personal, where I've been sending Zoom invites, because obviously there's a lot of people at the moment with mental health going through mental health distress, and I'm especially focusing on parents of special needs, because they're the ones who seem to be really struggling. But the one that I've just arranged is from Greenwich, so I'll send you that, and that'll be the first one.
Okay, great.
We've gone bigger. I've started to go a little bit bigger.
Wow.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, back to you, Amina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you finished? Are you done with this?
Yes, I am. Sorry, I should have said next slide, please. Yeah, so overcoming difficult times. You know, we can't say it enough, and we've said it multiple times today, and we all know it. It's been a hard year. It's been a very, very difficult time for all of us in loads of different ways. But but we can't forget our own strength. This is a very difficult time, but we have all.
Can I say a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
Actually, we are in a difficult time or a stress, a lot of things. Sometimes we think if we get fun, if we watch something new, or if we share with someone, we feel better. But sometimes, you know what happen? If you read some books and more, not more, more sad life as you know, if you read, especially English literature or German literature is before 70s, 60s, some book, if you read it, then you will think you're sad, your stress is nothing. When you understand people are suffering more than me, when I understand people suffering more than me, their life more difficult than me, then I feel, oh, it's easy. My life is easier than them. I can do it. I can take it. I can handle it. I can solve this problem myself. It's easy to handle, because how they handle it in their this types of situation or life. Because a lot of story or literature come from real life. They made it a different name, but some things come from real life. I read some books in German literature in a lockdown time. Then trust me, it's make me more positive. That time what happened when as coronavirus, different, you know, what I can't explain properly. Different these types of the thing, viruses came in this world, and people die a lot. It's like a plague or different thing. That times some books I find out from online. Then I read it. Then I see, okay, coronavirus is not that much worse. And that time was more difficult, more worse. That time no media, nothing, no sharing, no phone, no Facebook, no TikTok, nothing. Just what they did, one place to another place, just moving. Ireland to UK, UK to US, different countries, just moving people, town to village, village to town. Not as this time, we are at home. Then I'm thinking, no, it's not a difficult time. I was locked down till March to September, when I didn't open the window, this steps live. When I read this thing, their situation, then no, their situation were more worse. Now media with us, we can share our feelings with different organization, WhatsApp group, Messenger group, YouTube. But that time nothing, even no electricity sometime before. How they coped it.
Thank you, Rani. That that's really helpful as well. I think, you know, there's a couple of really important things in what you were saying there. When we read or hear about other things that people have been through, maybe in the past or in really difficult circumstances, it can both help us to have a different perspective, like Amina was saying earlier on, and it can help us to focus about the things that we have, the resources that we have now, that, you know, are here to help us. So lots of people find that reading stories and hearing about struggles that others have been through actually help them to have a different perspective on the struggles we're going through now. So thank you very much for that. And if I can just also point out something in the chat. So Yasmin has put in the email address, and also Mashoda, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not, has mentioned the Citygate Women's Programme, which is going to be doing ESOL sessions for April. So this is another really brilliant activity to get involved with. So please do take note of those. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And back to you, Amina.
Thank you, Rani. You got there first. That's actually one of the points that I was going to bring up. So thank you for explaining it so well. But yeah, I will basically echo all of what you said in a minute. But to start with, I wanted to say that, you know, we've all been through tricky times, and it can vary in kind of severity on how hard it was, but I can guarantee that every single one of us here has had a tricky time, no matter how small, how big, and they've made it through that tricky time. So I know it says think about a difficult time. You do, if you'd like to, you can. If you don't, no need to. And when I say a difficult time, I mean something that was a little hard, but you made it out, and it's okay for you to think about, and you feel happy and comfortable to think about it now. But think about that time, and how did you make it through it? Because, you know, we've all overcome difficulties, and what skills did you bring? What resources did you have? What personal qualities did you make use of? And of course, you know, there's no pressure to share at all, but I would be happy to say something that I experienced, which was a tricky time with one of my family members not feeling too well. And I think if I didn't have so much love for that family member, if I wasn't so persistent in chasing things up with the doctor, and if I wasn't, you know, strong enough to pull those all-nighters and stay overnight at hospital and all of those things, if I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't have made it through. So I can now say that I'm actually proud that those are qualities that I had in that time. And in terms of resources, I had my family all around me, and with that came strength. So, you know, we'd all take turns, and that was something that really, really helped me through a difficult time in the past. And, you know, now I know that's things that I have around me and things that I have within me. And so I tap into that when it comes to difficult times now. That's something I tap into. And it's also worth sometimes thinking about happy memories that relate some way through getting through a difficult time. I have a very silly example of me sitting at the end of a hospital bed, and my family member had kind of a remote control that moves the bed up and down, and I didn't know. And they kind of they moved it down unexpectedly, and I got a little bit scared, out a scream, and we thought it was kind of funny. And it's the silliest thing, but I associate that happy memory with a difficult time, and sometimes that can just be really, really empowering. An empowering thing to do. And lastly, this relates perfectly with Rani's point. I got there in the end. But, you know, this has been a hard year. But there are previous generations who have also gone through difficult times. And it's worth checking in on those people around you in your life. Parents, grandparents, other elders, family, friends, if you go to any of these kind of clubs or meetings or cooking sessions and you make friendships there, to ask people about those times. You know, some of those generations have lived through world wars, they've lived through very active racial discrimination, they've lived through very, very tricky times, and they have stories of strength, they have resources that they've made use of, and they probably have loads of hints and tips on ways of dealing with this. You know, my granddad used to laugh at me finding COVID to be such a difficult time, because like Rani said, we have social media now that solves half the problem when it comes to connection. So yeah, thinking about those people in your life who have those stories of strength, and having those conversations with them can be really helpful too. Angela, Rahana, if you would like to add, please feel free. I'm just going to have a read of the comments.
I mean, I think there's a lot we could probably talk about these, you know, experiences of overcoming difficult times. I'm just a bit aware of the time that we've got left on the webinar, and I think it will be good to have some time to just share information about services as well. So maybe we should go on to the next slide. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah, just to take you a little bit through the the 5 ways to well-being. So some of you who've been coming regularly to these sessions, you probably remember the session we had recently with Khadija from Talking Therapies. And she really talked us through in great detail about the 5 ways of well-being. But it's just a nice, helpful, I think, way of remembering some of the things that, you know, are very useful for supporting our mental well-being. So it's handy to remember the kinds of activities that we should be thinking about. So there's the taking notice of things like, you know, being mindful of our surroundings. And certainly for me, one of the things that's been really helpful recently is just noticing the spring flowers beginning to come up. You know, and for me that kind of brings about a sense of hope that we're coming into at least better weather, but also hopefully better times. Giving, you know, that because that's something that you know, connects us to others, makes others happy, and that in turn makes us happy. Being active, which we've all spoken quite a bit about today. Connecting with others, again, it's been, I suppose, one of the themes of the day. And keeping on learning, which was also something that Amina mentioned earlier about those things that give us a sense of achievement and purpose. So yeah, I find that it's useful to always have these in mind when thinking about different activities that we could do. So if we want to be balanced, we could think about trying to do things that fit into each of those. Okay, and so the next slide. Okay, so so maybe this is a good time to talk about, you know, some of the services that are available. So there's, you know, we mentioned earlier that myself, Amina and Rahana are working for East London NHS Trust. So East London Trust has got services for adults, children, older adults, and usually the first point of contact to get connected to those services is through the GP. Although some of the services you can refer yourself directly. And Tower Hamlets Talking Therapies, which provides psychological therapies in an accessible way via GP practices as well. You can self-refer to them, and they have a lot of things online at the moment. I would also like to mention a fantastic part of our services, which is the Tower Hamlets Recovery College, which is an absolutely brilliant resource. They have courses available for anybody who lives, works or studies in Tower Hamlets. They also have a YouTube channel, and during the pandemic they worked really hard to create some of the content to replicate what they would normally deliver, you know, face to face. And they've put some of the videos up there on their YouTube channel. So, and they are also doing great work in helping people who might have difficulty connecting digitally. So helping them to kind of download Zoom and Teams or things like that to their phones or tablets, or just helping people with those really practical ways of getting connected. So Shamsa, I don't know if you wanted to talk about some of the other.
So I think one of the key organizations in Tower Hamlets is Mind in Tower Hamlets, and they have a project called Connecting Communities. And for us generally in the community, in terms of accessing services, it's really the first point of call. If you just want to self-refer yourself, if you've got any issues that you want to speak to somebody about or any family members, usually Mind would be the best person to engage with at first instance. And they will sort of like do an assessment on you and refer you and signpost you to the right service. So yeah, so I think for us, for for the community members, you know, on a day-to-day level in terms of how we're feeling, experiencing, you know, feeling low, anxiety issue, you know, things that we're going through in our life. Mind would be the organization to connect to. I think obviously in terms of, Angela's mentioned most of them, Timeless mental health crisis helpline. Angela, do you want to say a little bit about them quickly? I think you probably know more than me.
Sorry?
The Timeless mental health crisis line, helpline.
Yes.
I have number. Oh, sorry.
Yes, sorry, Shamsur. Yeah, I was just muted there. Yes, there's a 24-hour crisis helpline. And so, yeah, if somebody is in a crisis situation or somebody that they care for, they can phone that line and they'll direct you from there. Yeah.
And I mean, we had a great organization called Rethink Mental Illness. They provide carer support. Unfortunately, this service is coming to an end of March. And I'm sure if there's any follow-up services to that, we'll let you know. We have a colleague here from today, from the service, but they've done some great work in the past with carers of mental health sufferers in Tower Hamlets. But unfortunately, that service is coming to an end, so we'll eventually take that off and hopefully replace with a new service in the future. Just an interesting one for us, the Bangladesh Mental Health Forum. We're starting up a signpost and an information service, which is starting next week. It's going to be like a first point of call where people can just call us and like just talk to us, and we'll support them to be signposted to, you know, the mainstream services in the borough. So the service will be obviously led by, you know, Bengali speaking staff and volunteers. So if you do know any Bangladeshi staff, community members that, you know, have language issues or want to engage in a more cultural or religious way, I mean, this would be the first point of contact in terms of our community. We've done a poster, which is, we're excited about this. This is the first time we're showing you the poster. So we will be, I'll be circulating it to everybody next week. It's in the local Bengali newspaper, Bangla Post this week, and hopefully we'll advertise in Channel S. But yeah, please do let people know about the service. We're very excited by this, and we're very excited to, you know, help and support people in the community to access the right service. And that's what we like to do through this, you know, this provision that we're offering. And I will circulate this leaflet to everybody, you know, later on or tomorrow, hopefully. Generally, I mean, in terms of the great resources where you can get information on mental health, and I'll say obviously you've got organizations like the Mental Health Foundation, Mind, Mental Health UK, and Rethink Mental Illness. The key national organizations where it's very useful resources to understand more about mental health symptoms, you know, how to maintain good well-being. So I would definitely use those sources as a good point where you should, if you want to learn more about mental health, those are the places to actually access, you know, information. Obviously, I've listed a number of organizations there, which you can go through. But what I will do is I will send these slides to you. If you send me your email address, please share your email address with me so you can receive this information via email. But please, if you haven't sent me your email, please do that now. We have lots of young people's organizations as well in the borough and outside the borough. So one of the key organizations called Young Mind, they're a national organization. They provide support for young people and also for parents. We've included 2 numbers there and a direct message number for young people. So we've discussed the Tower Hamlets Mental Health Crisis Line already, but that's also for young people if they need to access support from that service. In terms of more of a religious and cultural service for young people, there's the Muslim Youth Helpline. They support vulnerable young people, you know, in a sensitive, cultural sensitive way. The details are also there. And Tower Hamlets CAMS, in Tower Hamlets, East London Foundation Trust, they manage a young people's mental health service. So young people will access services and get support through the service up to the age of 18. So this is another service for young people in the borough. We have another great organisation called Step Forward in Tower Hamlets. They offer free counselling service for young people between 11 to 25, actually slightly younger than that. Actually, Docklands Outreach do that. The Docklands Outreach actually provides services for young people from 3 to 21 years old. Yeah, so we have great organisations in Tower Hamlets also supporting services and advice and information for young people. So yeah, definitely what I'll do, I'll send this information to you. If anybody's got any questions around this services, they can speak to us afterwards and I can give you the details. But we will send those slides over if you give us your email address. Any questions for this? Amina, do you want to take this on?
Yeah, we just thought we'd open up the space for any questions or comments. Anything that you found helpful today or maybe not so helpful. If there's anything that you might do differently or anything else you'd like to be covered. So we'd welcome any questions or any comments.
What I've got, Amina, I've got a small poll at the end what we can do. And then what I do, I'll sort of engage with people on a one-to-one basis and I get the evaluation if nobody's giving us feedback at the right moment.
Brilliant.
And so what I can do, I can send some of these questions that you put on there on our evaluation form and get response in relation to that. But has anybody got any comments in relation to today's workshop?
Hello.
Hello there.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I just want to thank you for actually doing this workshop. I think it's really needed at this time. I know that lots of people, not just adults, but also we children are going through mental health distress and low moods, and that's including my own son who's been feeling it. I think the first lockdown, it was fine, and we discussed already it was the weather and everything that we could go out. However, this time round, I'm hearing from lots of parents that it's affecting the children and not just the adults. Thank you, and everybody out there, stay safe and you know, pick up the phone, connect to people. If you're feeling, you know, that you're going through these thoughts and just not feeling quite low, then there's it's okay, as Angela said, it's okay not to feel good at this time, but do reach out to people that you can, because you don't know, like you said, you might be making someone else's day. Okay, take care, bye.
Thank you, Yasmin. So I'll go to the next bit where we just talk about more involvement opportunities and more workshops that we're going to be doing. So I think we've got one next week, which is sort of like a follow-on to this one, actually. And I think it's more in depth, so I think it'd be beneficial for people that attended today to come along to it. Our colleague from Timeless Talk and Therapy will be undertaking that workshop. And she actually offers more practical solutions and practical ways of doing things. The next week's workshop is on increasing mood and motivation. So please attend that. We've got a mental health workshop on the 24th of March, which is in Bengali. So facilitation will be done in Bengali with Rumina and Shams in Islam. So, and we've got a learning disabilities and mental health workshop as well in Bengali on the 11th of March, which our chair, Dr. Shams in Islam, will be leading on. We have a very popular, this one's a very popular workshop, supporting young people's well-being. We did this workshop on the 28th of January in Bengali. It was very well attended, over 40 people attended. So we're organizing this again, but this one will be in English, so other people can attend. It'll be on the 18th of March. And another useful workshop will be happening on the it's called Managing Worries, and again in partnership with our colleagues in Timeless Talk and Therapies. More practical ways and engaging ways of, you know, you can do things, which is really, really good. So yeah, so what I can do is, as I've mentioned, it's really important if you can email me your email address so I can, you know, email you the posters and send you the Zoom links for these, you know, these meetings. We've got a couple of other involvement opportunities. We're setting up a Let's Talk forum. It's for women only. It's a space where women, you know, it's a safe space for women where they can come along and, you know, talk about how their feelings. So that's going to be starting on the 3rd of March. The first meeting's at 2 to 3 p.m. If you want to come along, as I mentioned, please do email me. I'll send you the poster for that, but I will circulate the poster along. On the 24th of February, we're organizing an event in partnership with East London Foundation Trust. It's called the Bangladeshi Language Day celebrations. There'll be, you know, poetry, singing, you know, all sorts going on. Again, I'll circulate the leaflets for that as well. we're hoping that you come along and, you enjoy the day. It's more of a celebration, like there'll be music, live music and whatnot. So it'll be really, really good. We're supporting an organization called the National Survivor Service User. They're a national service user organization called NSUN. And they're doing some work on housing and mental health focus group. And they're looking for a few people to join a focus group on the 23rd of February. It's on housing and how housing and mental health is impacted your mental health. So if there is anybody that would like to attend this focus group, like, if you've experienced mental health while during the lockdown, you can attend this, and they'll give you, I think there's a good participation, fee. I think they'll give you £50 as well towards, attendance. So if anybody is interested in coming along to this workshop, please let me know, and you can touch base with them through me. Angela, do you want to say something about the NHS transformation quickly?
Yeah, just thank you, Shamsur. Just that, my colleagues in East London Trust are going to be doing some focus groups, but also one-to-one interviews, if people prefer that, to hear people's views on NHS services and what they would like to see, what their experience has been. They will receive payment for that as well, not £50, I don't think, if anybody is interested in contributing to that, maybe they could let Shamsur or myself know, and we'll pass on your details to the people who are running those focus groups. So really it's about looking at the way local services are going to be transformed, and wanting to make sure that people in the Bangladeshi community, and indeed all the other communities of Tar Hamlets, have a voice in that. And they will be able to interview people who don't speak English as well, so don't let that put people off. Okay, thank you.
All right, I've left my contact details on there. It'd be great. Obviously, it's important to have our details. So, I'll send you that, but if you want to take a picture